everybody, I'm back with Mr. Simon Bates, and we are here, or I am here even, with a piece of saxophone history.
Hey!
We've also got two Selmer saxophones which really are historical. The brand new 2023 Selmer Supreme tenor and a 1923, brackets-ish, Adolf sax, which essentially was made by Selmer, who were making under that name as well at that period, from the Selmer factory, like I say, early 1920s. So we have here 100 years of the saxophone's journey in the Selmer brand, which is pretty cool.
It is absolutely cool,
right?
Yeah.
And our combined age is still under 100 years, sort of nearly, just
really?
kind of. Okay. So what we thought, just as a bit of fun, the Supreme has come out. We've done a separate video on that, which Simon goes into in depth with the tenor and the alto. We thought it'd just be nice because we have a pre-owned Adolf here and of that era. And I said, well, cool, that's 100 years. There's a video there. We can have a chat about it. So we're just going to play them in a bit more depth, hear them, and then point out maybe how they've changed, some of the challenges maybe of using the older ones, some of the benefits of the new ones. However, some of the character that the older ones might give you, which I think some people still find quite hard to replicate, maybe on a new horn as well. So we'll have a play on both, or Simon will, and then we'll have a good chat about them and be interesting to see what you think. Let us know in the comments. But first up, Simon, give us a good old bit of blowing on the Adolf, and then we'll get into it on the Supreme.
Right, I will.
Thank you, Simon. And we tried to give you a little bit of everything there on both of them, just to see what you can do.
A bit of a variation.
Bit of a variation, exactly. So I suppose let's talk about it from a sound point of view, because there's a couple of playability things if we're comparing. And, you know, this is not a direct comparison because one of these things costs £9,000. The other one costs around £2,000 pre-owned, obviously. But from an actual tonal point of view, and then we'll get onto the keywork, how do you feel they compare, and how would that influence as a modern player? Do you think you can do everything on both, or are there pockets of things missing?
So look, simple answer to that is yes. You could do everything on both, but you know, I'm not trying to blow my own saxophone and all that, but you know, I am a professional player and I can pick up a saxophone and kind of
make it happen.
Make it happen. You know, if it's got a slight leak, I can still play it. You know, and so I would say that the immediacy of the Supreme, the ease of playing, you know, beats the Adolf sax.
Yeah.
Hands down. Yeah, hand down then.
Okay.
You know, but the and you know
what about the sound? What about the actual core sound?
The core sound, I'm going to be really controversial. I love the 20. Is it a 22? Or,
yeah, well, it's
not quite. It's the precursor to the modern 22.
It's what they were doing at that time, but calling it an Adolf. But it's the same saxophone.
The same saxophone. Yeah. So, I mean, it's got a certain richness. Now, whether that's the maturity of the brass or the fact that the lacquer's a little bit thinner, or I mean, I don't know. You know, to me, it's got a bit more, perhaps a bit more oomph. But this has got a great core to the sound. It's much easier to play. I mean, in terms of where your fingers go and aiming for certain things and all that. Yeah, but it shows to me that really what's happening with Selmer is they've started off with this amazing kind of incredible saxophone for the time. I mean, nobody could have been making instruments that good. No. I've tried a buffet from that era, and it was difficult to play. 2-octave keys and that sort of thing. When you consider that these are 100 years apart, this is almost the most amazing thing for me is how incredible that saxophone is compared to this one, because this is the best that Selmer make now, and that was the best that Selmer made 100 years ago, and that's that for me is perhaps not the point of this video, but it's the really incredible thing is just as to how good Selmer saxophones were in that era. And that tradition's gone all the way through with the the cigar cutter, the balanced action, the super balanced action. I've probably missed out a few on the way there. The Mark 6, the Mark 7. Yeah. And that incredible history. I'm not going to mention any more. The references are great, but this is the continuation, I think, of that Selmer tradition, and it is a superb saxophone, but
it's a supreme saxophone.
Yeah.
No. Okay. Well, do you think that heritage sound is still present in this to some degree? Is it still?
I think it is.
Selmer sound?
It does sound and respond like a Selmer. I mean, it's let's be honest. This is a complete redesign. There's probably more similarities in some ways to balanced action and that than there are to a balanced action and this, even though. Actually, the midpoint, I guess, would be the Mark 6. Yeah. There's probably, again, more similarities to the Mark 6 than there are to this, because of the way other companies who got involved with saxophone and pushed the development, and other saxophone designers have come in and Selmer obviously have taken those things on board and said, right, we've got to compete with what Yamaha, Yanagisawa, Carlworth, Cannonball, etc., are doing, with the saxophones. So, this kind of cross-fertilization of saxophony, does sort of end up in instruments like this, which, as I say, is it's an extraordinary instrument. The key work is good. I'm getting much more used to playing it now. Yeah.
Because I think that's. Sorry, want to jump in, but on these older horns, I think that is one of the big challenges for people is just getting their hands around stuff. The G sharp key.
Oh yeah, I wish that was bigger.
Is tiny. Yeah. Same. The you mentioned the thumb button on the back is rounded as well, so it's a little bit. Well, and it's half the size of that.
The mechanism going from the left hand little finger down to the B flat, C sharp, and B. That's really smooth on this. It's a bit clunky on that because it's 100 years old.
Well, exactly. The designs have changed to be much more ergonomic. But I think really what I wanted to do was just have a fun video where we reference the fact that these two are 100 years apart, but both still have a certain characteristic thread that ties them in terms of the Selmer sound.
Definitely they do.
And also, there's still a place for these horns. I think if you are in as you've done many of these gigs, I'm sure, where it's, the idea is to have that sort of dated sound, that dated look. The band might be playing repertoire from that era. And if you want that beautiful old tenor sound, a bit of Webster, whatever, these are great for doing that. Are they easy to fly around on at high speed? No. Is that easier? Absolutely. Yeah. But this is $2,000-ish, that's $9,000, and there's a whole other load of points to consider in between. So I think it was just fun to compare. This is what happens in 100 years. In the short and tall of it, if you compare a phone from 100 years ago, or any sort of a car from 100 years ago, I believe they've changed much more radically than what we have on the instruments. There's only so much they can do. to change these things. There have been things, though, mainly around usability, I would say. But I think sound is something that maybe hasn't actually changed.
No,
that
not a great deal. Not a great deal. I mean, it sounds probably more with mouthpieces and ligature technology, reed cut. I mean, when I started playing saxophone and clarinet, there were different strengths of reeds, but you had either Van Doren or
Rico Orange Box.
Rico.
Yeah.
and that was kind of the choice, So there's a lot more choice now. I mean, having said that, on alto, I play a 1930s Brill harp.
Yes.
So sometimes they do get things absolutely spot on, as you say. In kind of terms of history.
Yeah. Well, I think the takeaway is, if money's no object, just get one of each, and then you've got 100 years worth of saxophone history in your hands. But joking aside, I hope you've enjoyed this video, checking out this lovely Adolf, 100 years old, and obviously the brand new Supreme, which is an absolute monster of a saxophone. But Simon, if you wouldn't mind just blowing us out with a bit of something beautiful on the Supreme, or
beautiful.
Of your choice.
Right, no.
Beauty's in the eye of the beholder.
See if I can go beautiful.